I think it's time that we can start right now. Ajahn Nongke, please.
Yes, okay. I think so. All right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And good afternoon, Professor HaeRan. My name is Thitirat Panpamrungkit from the Department of Geography, Faculty of Arts, Chulalongkorn University. On behalf of organizing committees, I would like to welcome you all to the fourth Virtual Geography Speaker Series. This speaker series aims to exchange knowledge and expand the horizon of geographical research in Thailand. This series was co-organized by the Department of Geography from the University of Wisconsin Medicine, Chiang Mai University, Naleswan University, Chulalongkorn University, and the Geographical Association of Thailand. This virtual geography seminar will be held continuously once a month, and today is the fourth seminar. Before we start, let me introduce Dr. Puttaporn Alipachakul. She will be our moderator today for this session. Dr. Puttaporn is a lecturer in the Department of Geography, Chulalongkorn University. Her research area focuses on the political geography, cultural geography, and migrant workers as well. Okay, I will give the stage to Dr. Puttaporn right now. Please enjoy our seminar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn Thitirat. Today, our speaker is Professor HaeRan, as we all know, and she's from Seoul National University's Department of Geography. Professor Haeran's research focuses on political geography and migrant studies, which is quite similar to what I'm interested to too. She currently has over 45 publications as I can count, and many of which are published in the world-class journals such as Political Geography, Urban Studies, and Environmental and Planning D, Society Express. Therefore, I think this is a great opportunity to learn from her experience. This talk on the title of Developing Research in Interaction, focusing on her two representative research themes, urban politics and migrant studies. Professor HaeRan will explore how to develop research ideas and get manuscripts published. The talk will run around 45 minutes, followed by 30 minutes of Q&A. Finally, before giving the stage to Professor HaeRan, everyone please join me in welcoming Professor HaeRan by sending any emoji in the Zoom. Thank you. Yes, Professor.
Oh, this is how you do. That's nice. So do I have about 45 minutes for my presentation? Okay, great. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Well, I'm gonna imagine your faces, looking at your pictures and so on, and names. Let me share my slides first. Okay, can you see it?
Yes,
okay.
We can. Yes.
I made the title of my presentation today as a developing research in interactions, because while introducing the cases of cultural politics and migrant studies that I have done, I would like to focus and then emphasize the importance of interactions. So my name is Haeran Shin. Actually, my last name is Shin, so it's a Professor Shin. And I'm teaching in the Department of Geography at Seoul National University. I used to teach at University College London before I joined this, my current university. And then I have to say that as a non-English native speaker, I have really struggled to write and teach in English. Yeah, and then But nowadays, publishing in an international journal means that you have to deal with that problem. Yeah, if the English is not your first language. So, however, it doesn't mean that you have a really big barrier. Actually, rather than just the language, understanding the structure is more important. Okay, let me start. Okay, so when you write, yeah, it's not really free writing. People always says it's writing, but actually it is different from personal journals or essays or novels. Actually, we have a certain format. Actually, it is like a formula. Yeah. So we write about something, the topic, in a certain format. Yeah, for a reader or group of readers. Okay. So that's why when you read your favorite journal, probably you would like to learn about the content, right? But as the researcher, yeah, read your favorite journal to learn about the common structure. Okay, so the common structure, understanding common structure is very interesting, very important. Okay, and then it's not just free writing, it is actually locating your research in the flow of relevant studies. So the key question is what you are suggesting. Yeah. So in the flow of relevant studies, so other studies, previous studies talked about, have discussed this and that, and you suggest your conceptual position. You are criticizing this and support that, or you compromise this and that, or you suggest quite innovative position, like a third way. Yeah. Or you can you just support those theoretical framework, but you suggest new cases. So that would be your contribution when you write something. Yeah. So I said interactions. Actually, it includes interactions with like actual people and interactions with imaginary people. Okay. So the first one is the most important one is your potential audiences. I said the potential because you don't know actually who exactly they are. But when we write, we have a kind of imaginary audiences in our minds. Okay, that's very important. So it's not just keeping writing. It is actually communicating with my potential audiences in my head. Okay, all the time. So sometimes they can be your colleagues who actually ask you some questions, and then maybe committee members, reviewers who really examine your article. But actually, it is really interaction. It is a conversation. Yeah. And then your supervisors, or to me, my supervisees, my students, they are wonderful audiences. They always give me questions and comments. And sometimes you can talk to non-academic friends, maybe your parents. Yeah. For example, yesterday, in these days, I'm working on North Korean defectors. So yesterday, I met with my personal friend who is not in academia, and then I explained about my future research topic. And then she said, "Oh, I don't know, Haeran, but oh, maybe that is really narrow." And then she suggested something. Okay, so and then importantly, I communicate with myself. Okay, and then I interact with the concept, existing concepts. And when you go to the fieldwork, you can interact with your interviewees and informant. Yeah. So your target audience, when you think about it, so you should ask yourself, would your intended audience be really interested in what you eventually hope to sell? Okay. And then I found master's students in the discipline in geography, or if you are in sociology, wonderful potential audiences, because they are interested in various topics in general. Yeah. And then they can, well, PhD students, they are really into their specific topic. Okay, so rather than PhD students, you can talk to master's students, and then you can get really good feedback. Just you explain about your research and ask them if they think your topic makes sense. I think it's a very, very good and important training. So basically, I think that the research article or any document is a tool of communication. Okay, so who will read my research and what might they want from my research? So that's always the most important question. So after you identify your target audience, yeah, and then based on your review of relevant literature, you Google with the key concepts and so on. Identify a research problem based on what your specific audience already knows, yeah, and wants to know. Okay, so for example, if you I'm talking to you right now, yeah, and then probably let's say that I'm writing about public memory, and then you would be interested in the topic, but actually you didn't really read much about memory, yeah. So then I have to introduce some basics of the literature on memory, yeah. Then I can develop the discussion. If you my audiences already know a lot about memory, if I start from really basic, you would be bored. Okay, so that's why it is important to understand what they know and what they do not know and what they want to know. Okay, so we can ask ourselves, does my research problem formation and potential contribution make sense given my target audience? So I'm going to give you my two examples quite briefly, and then explain how I started this research. Okay. So the first one is the cultural politics of Gwangju. I'm not from Gwangju, the city of Gwangju, but because of the political history of the city, I always was sympathetic with the city, and then I had some good friends in the city. Okay, so Gwangju is here. Yeah, this is South Korea, and then Gwangju is in a southwest area, and then it has a 1.5 million population, and then it had a really weak industrial base, and then importantly, the May 18 democratic uprising took place in 1980. Okay. So it is anti-dictatorship democratic uprising, and then the national government sent the national troops and then killed many people. You know, so and then about 20 years have passed, and then local elites, they were really concerned about attracting businesses, because what happened was the military dictator government, they really distorted the history of May 18, and then it is a democratization movement, but the national government framed the city as the city of rebellion, you know. So to outsiders, the city was kind of considered as the city of blood and May 18 democratic uprising, and Kim Dae-jung, who is a representative of politicians. So some people really adored what happened in the city, while some others kind of tried to avoid those people from the city, and then businesses did not really want to locate themselves in the city because of the negative image, So, and then the first non-military government, they were ready to help Gwangju because they wanted to show that they care about human rights and democracy. Okay, and then at that time, the city government became more entrepreneurial than before because local elections restarted in 1995. So local elites, they got together, and then they said, we've been misunderstood for too long, time to change our image, So they started the cultural strategies, okay, cultural and creative strategies. So the first one is the Gwangju Biennale, and then it was when I became interested. At the time, I was a master's student, and then I was looking for potential topic for my master's thesis. And then looking at this news about the Gwangju Biennale, is art exhibition, international contemporary art exhibition. I wondered, international art exhibition in Gwangju, it doesn't make sense because it was not really matched with the image of a city. And then I wondered why. So that's how I started this research. And then since 1995, actually, even like only a month ago, I gave a talk. I gave a presentation for the World Bank as a World Bank consultant to policymakers in various countries. So it means that still I'm working on the case. That happened because the city has developed kind of various cultural strategies over time. So in the second stage, I think it's a second stage in 2004. They were defined. The city was defined as Asian culture hub by the national government, and then the national government again provided big funding. And then third stage could be defined for the media art creative city. The UNESCO's media art creative city included Gwangju. So they kind of have evolved over time continuously, and then actually from time to time, I decided to stop looking at the city, but then always something happened in the city, and then and sometimes those friends of mine said, Haeran, that something is happening, you should look at it again. And then I said, okay, why not? And then I visited Gwangju again, and then I looked at it. So this is a Gwangju Biennale Contemporary Art Exhibition. It started in 1995, and then this is the second one, Asia Culture Hub project, and then third one, UNESCO's Media Art Creative City. And then I was more interested in the Gwangju Biennale because some people, some artists, and then civic organization members, they organized the anti-Biennale because they thought that the Gwangju Biennale that was supported by the national government financially and institutionally didn't really reflect their identity. Okay, so they wanted to place a spotlight on the the May 18 protest, yeah, demonstration. And then, so they opened this exhibition in Mangwol-dong Cemetery, where those victims were buried. Okay, so I actually visited this anti-biennale, and then this anti-biennale was even more popular than main biennale. So, and then the graves became a part of the exhibition. Actually, it produced actually very particular, interesting atmosphere of reflection, yeah, in the combination of democracy and art. So then what happened was the Gwangju Biennale, main biennale, integrated this anti-biennale. And then this is what I wrote in my published paper. Actually, it is very helpful if you plan in advance how to display the results of your study. And then you can do it if you understand the structure of a research article. So I said here, they were so disappointed by the bureaucratic and instrumental approach of the government that they gave up the attempt to rehabilitate civil society inside the biennale. An academic said, so this is one of my interviewees, yeah? The biennale was like, don't do that any longer. We will give you some benefits. There are 500 members in the Gwangju Jeonnam Artist Civic Society. These people are those who opened the anti-biennale, but they are not interested in the biennale now. So they gave up. Yeah. So I said how they responded to this integration, because some people really got disappointed and then they left. And then some people thought that they should play some roles, so they continue to cooperate. Yeah. So you can see this. You can see this when you conduct interviews. Yeah, you can directly quote some part of the interviews. Yeah, like this, like a smaller font, and then those quotes, interview quotes, should be really important, very essential part. Otherwise, it just distracts people's attention, and then it intervenes the flow of the writing. So it should be really key finding. Yeah. So and then the another conflict took place in the surrounding the construction of Asia Culture Center, because the plan included the demolition of Byeolgwan, where ordinary protesters in 1980 were killed. Okay, so yes, so before that, actually in Gwangju Biennale, because of the anti-biennale, the May 18 history was integrated into the cultural strategy. Before, cultural strategy was to replace it. Okay, replace the political image with a cultural image, and then now it is becoming integrated. It was very interesting. And then so the construction of Asian Culture Center was planned like this, and then actually the building is here. So this demonstration happened in front of the building because it was a former provincial hall. Yeah. So it was a kind of a symbolic building. And then the original master plan was like this. And then here actually there is a part of a building, Byeolgwan, and then it was to be removed so that they can construct a tunnel here. So they wanted to say that this tunnel is to connect the past to the future, or something like the very artistic, architecture plan. And then this Byeolgwan was going to be removed, and then that was a problem. Actually, Byeolgwan looked like this. Okay. And then actually several public consultants were organized, and it was actually explained how the building will be changed. And then people nodded and then agreed, so-called. And then there was even, groundbreaking ceremony in 2008. And then this is the former president at the time. And a criticism began, severe criticism began. And then they said that this part is going to be removed. And then what are you going to explain to our next generation? Yeah. So this part, black part, they covered the part of Byeolgwan with a black fabric to indicate that people, this part is going to be removed. And then they said, this is our son's grave. Okay, our sons were killed here, so it's like a their grave, and then the grave should not be removed. So this is in 2018, and then this is 1980s. So this water fountain was a very symbolic place. So Byeolgwan is my son's grave. So the victims' families may emerge as the main actors. They had a symbolic importance. And then they were kind of untouchable, but not really respected. But because what happened was the government or some organizations provided some kind of charity monies, okay? Or they provided some financial opportunities. And then those families, they were always suspected. And then because their fathers, their husbands were killed, they were in poverty, most of them, yeah. And then those people who were tortured, they suffered for a long time and died early. However, people, those victims' families didn't really look, they were not really respected because they looked opportunistic, for financial or opportunities. So people had a so-called May 18 fatigue. They were sick and tired of the story. And then some people worried if this protest, would make the conservative regime of the nation state, which were already reluctant to continue to support the project, reduce or even cancel the project. So they, victims' families criticize it, and then others criticize those families. And then what was essential was, then why did you agree in the first place? There were public consultant meetings several times. And then actually one person from the May 18 organizations who was a victim's family said, well, actually, we didn't understand what was going on in the public consultation. We didn't know what the part that was planned to be demolished was where the family members died, because they couldn't understand those experts' explanations, okay? And then they nodded because they felt pressure. So because of, as a result, the original plan was to remove the whole part, and then later the final plan was this part was partially remained like this, yeah. And then this is what I wrote in urban studies. So again, I explained what happened and I interpreted what was going on, yeah. And then I quoted one interview, this is about after all the conflict. I think that this conflict around the Byeolgwan provides a turning point fundamental consideration of how to rehabilitate Gwangju. So it was a kind of a positive, positive interpretation. Yeah. So I wanted to say the conflict not only brought about uncomfortable feelings, but also clarification of what each person thought, and then motivated people to negotiate and then renegotiate. Yeah. So finally, the renovated building was opened like this. And then actually at the time there was another criticism, and then I met them. And then some of them said that Professor Shin, and you should work on this case. And then I had a headache because in this Gwangju's case, I didn't really want to look at it. I think I was actually dragged by what was going on in the city because it was interesting. Yeah, it was kind of far from my hometown, and then so it was a hassle to visit there every time. However, I ended up looking at the case again and again and producing a number of papers, and I produced the book. I published the book last year, with a collection of those stories. So, but I think that what helped me enormously was to asking around. Sometimes I ask someone that oh look, I'm going to compare this case with another city and so on. And then she said, Haeran, it doesn't interest me. Who cares? Who cares about that kind of a comparison? And then I got embarrassed because I was really interested in the comparison. I was ready to do it. So I said, I do care. And then he asked, Haeran, who else would care? So I was not happy. However, later, I realized that he was right. The comparison had no point of attracting people's attention. So getting feedback hurts often. It hurts because people sometimes say very like critical things, and then sometimes very harsh things. However, you can really understand, you can test the water. Okay, so I always ask around, and then sometimes I just call one of my students and then explain my potential idea, and then ask, what do you think? So that was and then reviewers from a journal, they are wonderful. They are really wonderful. And some people, they send the papers and then they get negative feedback, and then they get rejections. Yeah, their paper got rejected, and then they got so disappointed, and then they never try again. I think it is a very, very tragic, because even harsh feedback, even when you think that their comments do not make sense, they indicate how your writing can be misunderstood by readers. Okay, so if you think that the reviewers didn't really understand what I'm intending to say, then look at carefully, and then look at why they understood my articles almost in a completely opposite ways, and then revise, change your writing, your sentences, expressions, and then sometimes the concepts and so on. And then now let me briefly talk about North Korean defectors. And actually, North Korean defectors, I was working on like a different group of migrants in London. At the time, I was living in London, and then all of a sudden they kind of disappeared, yeah, and then they were replaced by North Korean defectors, because you know, each of those groups, the situation got changed, and then North Korean defectors who were kind of staying at home, and then, you know, depending on welfare money, they started looking for jobs. So they were in the Korean community's job market. Okay. So I found it quite interesting. And then although I didn't plan to work on North Korean defectors, I thought, well, if they are willing to talk to me, I will do it. Okay, because they looked very interesting, and then I was personally interested in understanding, you know, how they are. So I started working on North Korean defectors, and then over time, at first I thought that they were just trying to adapt to South Koreans, actually, because, you know, they use Korean, both groups use Korean, and the North Koreans didn't, their English was not fluent, so they wanted to assimilate to South Korea. However, later, some years later, I found that actually their North Korean identity re-emerged. It was very interesting. So that's why I looked up some literature, and then I found the nation, the concept of the nation. The nation is different from the state, you know, and then the nation is kind of as a collective identity and imagined society. Yeah. And then I wanted to talk about extraterritorial nation building. Yeah. Looking at those North Korean defectors, finding their North Korean identity again, I wanted to conceptualize as bringing the nation back, nation building. Okay, so and then the previous literature said that nation building is not just about mapping, building, and then inhabiting, but also about crossing, circulating, and moving. So I thought, okay, this is it. And then I conceptualized it extra territorial nation building. Yeah. And then as a social and then cultural practices. So so those North Korean defectors, actually they lived in South Korea for some years, and then they left South Korea because they were not happy, and then they moved to the UK. So they were looking for like a kind of alternative narratives of a sovereignty, and then they wanted to emphasize North Koreanness. Yeah. And then in the UK, there's a like biggest North Korean defectors the community. Yeah. So and then I explained the research method, and then, you know, it was like over time. And in 2017, I had a sabbatical in the UK. And then I came to work on a Korean language school for North Korean children. Okay, they established this weekly school every Saturday, so that their second generation, their children can learn Korean language. And then I did participant observations really well. It was because at that time, my son was quite little, yeah, and then I had to bring him everywhere I went. So one day I visited this language school. Okay, this is New Malden. New Malden is quite well known for the North Korean defectors. It's a coffee shop. Let me skip. Yes, sorry. These oh yes, here these children, you know, they're so this is they rented a local church, and then they established this language school. And then when they saw my son, actually here, one of these you know, these children is my son, and then they suggested, oh, why don't you to my son, oh, why don't you join us? You know, you can share your Korean language with these you know, North Korean children and so on. So that's why I became a part of the parents groups. Okay, so that's why I could see the case really deeply, because I had to spend time with other parents every Saturday. I discussed about the school's you know, program, and then children's snacks and so on. And actually this language school group was the key group of a nation building in terms of a North Korean identity in daily lives. Actually, they wanted to establish this language school because they didn't want their children to go to South Korean language school and then completely become like South Koreans. So they wanted to have something North Korean. Yeah. So it was a very interesting. And then I think it is a kind of a resistance, yeah, as the North Koreans resisted assimilating to South Korean ways. They focused on nation building and the formation of North Korean places, such as the Korean language school for their second and third generations, and the North Korean Association and cultural organizations. So those children were invited by many like organizations, events, because you know, some South Koreans, even in London, they were kind of afraid of North Koreans because basically we are not allowed to talk to each other. Technically speaking, it's still illegal. Yeah, even when I see any North Korean in London, in a third country. So some South Koreans really hated, you know, getting along with the North Koreans. However, children are cute, yeah, and then they look politically neutral, so they were invited to some many actually cultural events and so on, and then they play the role of a bridge, yeah. And then now in New Malden, it's very interesting. It's a they're kind of integrated together, at least in events. Okay. So one North Korean refugee questioned, I think that this is really essence. I escaped from North Korea because I didn't like the North Korean regime. It doesn't mean that I didn't like North Korea, my country. Why should I be anti-North Korea? And then another asked, why is it wrong to hang the North Korean flag? Oh, sorry, it's a flag at our event. Yeah. And then another parent, mother said, just looking at a North Korean flag makes me cry because I love my country. I miss my country. Yeah. So I found very interesting. I think they were kind of conscious of me when they talked, but later, because I spent so much time with them, and then I became really part of them. Yeah. So they said that the one father said, I was afraid our North Koreanness would disappear if our children completely assimilated to South Korea in the South Korean school. So that's why they did it. And then this is what I wrote. I think this is in a political geography. So I quoted this one, yeah, the interview. I was afraid our North Koreans and so on, yeah. And then another parent who worked devotedly to keep the school open said, I thought we need at least. So this is, and then second, what my papers published and so on was quite accidental, I think. Sometimes I really struggled, and then or I didn't plan to do it, but then yes, some events and then some opportunities really motivated to do it. I changed my plan, but every time I think I was always curious about what others think, because it's not a research a paper, it's not personal diary. Yeah. So we write to persuade others. We write to make others understand. Yeah. And then we write to communicate with others. So that's it, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Shin of HaeRan. If anybody have any question, in the meantime, I think you might need time to think about the question a little bit. I have some question to you. Actually, I just read your journal, your article that you just recently published. I think the newest one that said debordering North Korea.
Oh, yes, yes.
That you talk about the ethnic social, I cannot remember, ethnic network that used debordering and rebordering North Korea. But I'm curious about, you use the word geopolitical ethnic network. I'm not sure what do you mean by geopolitical, why you put the word geopolitical in the front of ethnic.
Oh, right. Because transnational ethnic networks will have been used to refer to like those ethnic networks that were used in ethnic businesses. Okay, so in a kind of a politically neutral environment, and I wanted to use the concept to this South Koreans and North Koreans, so kind of a political and then dynamic relations, and then not just between South Koreans and North Koreans. The Korean Peninsula's situation is always complicated. It's with the US, with China, with Russia, and then all the global powers are involved. So it's a geopolitical. I wanted to mean that kind of a geopolitical dynamics in which transnational ethnic networks are working. So that's why I coined the concept. I made the concept by adding geopolitical into transnational ethnic networks. Yes, and then I often do that. I suggest a new concept, not very completely new concept. I sometimes combine two different concepts, or just slightly revise, contribute to our theoretical
very
discussion.
Impressive, because when I read it, and I really like that term a lot. I've never thought about that before, but I read it. Oh, I like this a lot.
Right. I mean, students they try to like apply existing concept to the to like their case, but actually, you should be really lucky if it makes sense, because existing concept is not really perfect for your case. So you should revise the concept.
I see.
you are free to do it. You are actually encouraged to do it. That is how we develop our discussion. Yeah. So it's like a existing concepts. It's a no. It's nothing really fixed. So you can. So I always encourage my students and then other people to play with the concept. So this concept and then that concept. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Any question from anybody? Yes, Paris. Actually, Paris is one of our students, and he really liked your work a lot. And he said, like, first he thought to go study, but when he read your article and he said, like, can I go to Seoul National University for my master? He said
Why
that
not?
to me. Yeah, Paris, please.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, Professor. I do really like your work. And just a little question. I just read the publication of India in that published around politics of forgetting. So I think, so I'm questioning that the paper or the research that you did on the Gwangju uprising is relating to the politics of forgetting, and could you just like give more examples about the politics of forgetting in urban spaces?
Oh, right. The politics of forgetting. Oh, that was a really hard paper because there was another case of Seoul ferry accident. Yeah, and then our former president was she had to leave. She had to step down because people were so angry. People were angry because we thought that his role when the accident happened. So that's why hundreds of people, including many high school students, died. And then people had to watch the ship was sunken for like 3 days or so. So it was a really big tragedy. And then people were shocked, and then and so on. And then what the national government did was they tried to kind of conceal. They tried to hide why they were so slow in responding to the tragedy, or they kind of suppressed those people who wanted to discuss about it, and then who wanted to criticize the government. And then I thought, this is kind of similar with what happened in Gwangju. Yeah, because the military dictator government, they harshly suppressed those the politics of memory. So that's why I said the politics of forgetting. And then I argued, my co-author, my former student, and I argued that they, for forgetting, the national governments tried to remove those places of memory. Yeah, because of memory, really like religion, memory survives through places. They need places. Yeah, that's why memory places are always really hot issue. But I said it was a hard publication because I just thought that oh, maybe they are, they would make an interesting comparison. So to test the water, I spoke in a conference. Okay, in the conference, many people really loved that idea, and then they were excited about it. They asked me many questions. So I thought, okay, so the response is so positive. So we should pursue the publication. However, when we wrote our article, the feedback from journals was not really positive. So we got really like a number of rejections over and over again. And then finally we found the A place. And but at that time I thought never ever again depend on a positive response in a conference, because in a conference people kind of I mean you can see that the feedback. However, sometimes people's reaction can be really different from like a journal's reaction. Yeah, because I think that some issues are really good for conference presentations. It really attracts attentions and so on. But when it is written down, it is harder to persuade people, And then I have this kind of a number two, this kind of a type. And then it is now on the review. I think it was developed some years ago, many years ago, and then still it wasn't published yet, because it was loved in a conference, but it was hated in publication. So that happens. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you for reading my research articles. It's yeah, not many people read it. Research articles is just a few people really. Yeah, it is meant to be.
Yeah, just someone who very interested in that topic.
I know. Yeah. However, it has impact on policies and then social consensus. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think it's wonderful that you organize this kind of speaking series.
Thank you, and I'm very happy that you can come. Actually, when I email you, I feel like, oh, you might not respond at all, because it was like we have never met and I didn't know you, so I just feel like you might reject me, but I really want you to come.
Yes. Well, actually, I have about one of my colleagues and then one of my committee members who have connections with Thailand. They are one of them is from Thailand, and then the other one, his wife is from Thailand. And then I have wanted to visit Thailand sometime, and then yes, someday. So why not?
Thank you for coming anyway. Actually, I have one more question to you. It's about the process of writing a paper. So I'm curious, when you have the topic, when you know what you want to do, the research, do you have in mind what journal or what paper you want to publish first, or you write it first?
I should have, but honestly, I don't know many journals actually. I always struggle to find the right journal. And then I often choose a wrong journal, and then I send the paper to them, and then they said, please send your paper to another journal because it doesn't really fit. Yeah. So I'm not good at it. However, the principle is you actually should decide your target journal first, and in the journal, with your keyword, if you find your like a role model paper, that will be best. Role model paper. So for example, the paper can be similar with your research in terms of research methods, in terms of a conceptual framework, or in terms of a case, anything. Maybe there is no perfect role model paper, but when you see a paper, you can feel that, oh, this is the kind of a paper I want to write. Yeah, that is a role model paper. So then you can benchmark it. You can you can make a similar structure, you can make a similar display, and then that is always helpful. But often, I mean, you can get rejected. Rejection is just a part of life. And then I heard that good journals, like a prestigious journals, their rejection rate is more than 90% or 95%. So it is so natural that you get rejections. Yeah. But the good thing is even when they reject your paper, they give a feedback, very helpful feedback for free. And then I am asked by so many different journals to review articles. So I review articles almost every week. So, and then I reject papers. And then I ask, revise and resubmit, like a major revision. So that happens. Yeah. So deciding your target journal, deciding your like a target paper is will be helpful.
Thank you. Any one more question?
Okay.
It's
not a question really. I'm Liwa Patisno and I'm from Chiang Mai University and it's in the north of Thailand. And I just want to express my feeling after listening to your talk. And I'm very impressed. And I'm a population geographer. And I really like the word like re-emerging of the national identities that you use, like rebuilding national identities. And I just want you to keep up the good work, and maybe in the future, if you would like to come to Northern Thailand, there are a group of you're welcome.
Yes, I know. Right. Actually, I was thinking of Taiwan when I wrote the paper. Yeah, and then I presented. I talked about it in a National Taiwan University. And then, you know, because of the kind of similar situations and then the people were really interested. And I think that kind of a national, kind of some national border conflicts. Yeah. And then some people don't agree to be integrated, and then don't agree, are not happy to be part of a particular country. So, and then in the future, in the Korean Peninsula, it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn Liwa. Ajahn Thitirat ka.
Okay. Actually, I'm not a Christian as well, but I really like your research as well. But let me ask you about the research in Guangzhou. How can you organize your research on the conflict situation? How can you choose the group of respondents and how to compromise or interpret their needs or opinion in your research?
Right. It was not easy at all. And then especially in the time of those Pyeolgwan, the construction of the Asian center, people were so upset about each other, and then some people refused to talk to me because they said it is they can't really talk about it because it's so painful. So, and then contacting potential interviewees is challenging anyway, because you have a butterfly in your stomach. Yeah, because it's very fearful to approach strangers and then ask for help for your research. And then I think it is quite natural for them to be not interested or to even hate talking to us, because it is for my research that people really wanted to talk, because they want someone to distribute their stories, right? So in Gwangju, my principle number one was not to have a coffee or meal with any interviewee, because it was a very small community, and then they know everything. And then once I have a lunch with one interviewee, next day another interviewee I met said that, oh, yesterday you had a lunch with someone that I don't like or something like that. So I didn't do that. However, because I'm not from the city, yeah, and then I was not in South. They could be kind of honest to a stranger who said that who is teaching in the UK, and then they thought that probably my story would be safe. Yeah, and then I think the fact that I'm a woman was helpful, because many of those interviewees were middle-aged men. Yeah, and then sometimes they, I think they thought that I am kind of naive, and then don't know like about politics, and then sometimes they were really frustrated, and then they showed the confidential documents to me and then explained about it. But my role was, no matter what I know and what I think personally, I didn't really express it. I was a kind of observing sponge. Yeah. So I was ready to listen to any story. And then that's why I looked naive, I think. I didn't try to like deceive them, but as a result, they thought that I need more kind of information and so on, and then that was helpful. But at the end of the day, I wrote articles, I wrote the book, and so on. And then one of my good friends who is from years, I said, I know I never understand, but I do understand from my particular angle. And then that is, and then I, and then and making it like a good explanation, and then publish it, and then let others read is my role. So because he said that, it gave me another idea about forgetting and then remembering, because remembering and forgetting is very, very personal. Even if you and I in the same place, under the same attack, under the same event, our memories are not same, right? So that is a really important part of memories. So I actually thanked him. At first, I was kind of unhappy to hear that. Yeah. Now he is a politician, and then yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that is quite challenging, and your experience will be good and very useful for other researcher, because
yeah. And last week I in these days I'm working on smart city, the governance of a smart city, the politics of a smart city. So last week I conducted interviews in a hurry because I'm in a winter vacation. So I did 4, no, even 5 interviews in a week, and then I got sick. Even now I am so afraid. I'm nervous. Yeah, but we have to do what we have to do anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we reaching the time, so we will end this talk now. But before letting everyone free, everyone please join me thank Professor Haeran Shin by sending any emoji again to the Zoom.
That's really nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It
Thank
was
you.
very nice meeting you. And then I really wish you best luck for your research and the publication. Mm.
Thank you. Wish me luck too.
Okay, so I think I'll see you in the next occasion, whatever it will be. Yeah.
Yes.
Until then, bye. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Bye. Yeah.